I give it a couple minutes.
Yeah. It looks like I got some participants. Oh, 19.
Look at that. Fun.
9, 20, 20, 20.
We should have guessed how many. Let's do.
Yeah.
Let's.
I mean, they can hear us, so
I'm going for
try to keep it interesting.
55.
Wow, ambitious.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 34.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you might be close.
Yeah. I might be. I'm hoping for some late ads.
Oh, come on. Oh, all right, no more. No one's else allowed.
Block it off.
Should I say 35? Just to no.
No, I was just going to say, those other than you're out. Yeah. Price is right thing.
Yeah. 34 was the number. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding. We're so happy. More people.
Let's see.
That's awesome.
I wish we had cool name bars. I wonder if we could get subtitles.
What do you mean?
Like it says our name when we talk.
Oh, it switches back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's any names. Okay. We can get started and then as people come. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Great.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. So weird not being able to see you, but hopefully you can see us. My name's Bailey. I'm an enrollment counselor. I've been with CCU for 3 years. Love it. And thanks for joining tonight. We're going to be talking about life on campus, residence life, meals, food, the best stuff. We have Callie and Alex. They're large and in charge over in residence life, so they'll be able to answer any questions. Kind of how tonight will go, they'll do a little bit of presentation about information you need to know, and then we'll have question and answer time. For question and answer, I'm disabling the chat, so don't do anything in the chat, but there's a separate question and answer section. I'll be looking at those, and then at the end, I will present those to them, and we'll try to eliminate duplicates and stuff. So if you have any questions after the presentation, let us know, and we will end right at 7, so respect your time and stuff, but take it away, guys.
Okay. Well, I'm Callie. I have worked at CCU for about 5.5 years now, which is pretty crazy. I started in the Life Direction Center, which you've probably heard about or your students have heard about, and then switched to Res Life 3 years ago. So I am the RD of La Plata and Kit Carson, which is all freshman housing. So I really love it, love the students that live in my buildings, and I'm really excited to be with you in some capacity tonight to just talk more about life on campus.
My name is Alex Sanjari. This will be my 3rd year here at CCU. And I am the resident director in Yetter Hall. So one of our newer builds has both upperclassmen and freshmen. And I think is a lot of fun and the coolest building ever. But that's just my personal opinion. So excited to have students back. It might look a little different. We'll get into that a little bit, not too much, but we're just so excited to introduce you a little bit of what life on campus looks like and what it's going to be like. So we prepared a video. So if you notice, we have different clothing. Like, that's what happened. We're not that good, I guess, but Callie's going to work on sharing that for you all, and then we'll get to the next part.
Hi, welcome to the Residence Life presentation tonight. This is our Residence Life team that's here to go over some of the high points of what does it mean to experience life on campus here at CCU. My name is Neal Anderson. I serve as the Director for Residence Life. We have a small presentation put together for you, and all of us will go around here shortly and give you some high points of what it's like to be a part of Residence Life. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll jump right into the presentation. So first things first, let me introduce you to our staff team. This is the whole picture of everyone who makes up Residence Life. That's our 44 RAs, our ARDs, RDs, myself, and this is a picture from our fall retreat we go on each year up in the mountains to do staff training. This is one of our RDs, Jacob Hoekstra, his wife Amanda, their son Charlie. Jake is the RD that's responsible for Red Cloud snow masks in the duplexes, primarily an upper class area. This is Callie Tarana. She is the RD of La Plata and Kit Carson, alongside her husband, and one of the best pictures on our presentation. And his name is John. They live here on campus in La Plata. Alex Sanjari, RD of Yetter Hall. Melissa Wilkins, RD of Harwood and Waite, primarily freshman area, and going back to Alex, mixed upperclassmen and freshmen. Melissa has mostly freshmen and a few upperclassmen in one part. Eric McClellan, RD of Rockmont Hall, and his wife Nat, their son Milo, and not pictured in this picture is their newest baby Juniper. Rockmont has also both upperclassmen and freshmen. And then this is Alyssa Morrow, our Assistant Director of Residence Life. She oversees all things housing and meal plans. And this is her husband, Dylan, son Lincoln, daughter Emery, and Patty Prater, our Administrative Assistant, the face of Residence Life when you walk into our building, and her husband, Ron. They are, Patty is the person that you'll interact with most if you come to our offices in the lower level of Rockmont. So, oh, and then this is a picture of my family, my wife, Ashley, my 3 boys. August just turned 7, Merritt, the big cheese right there, he's 4, and Brooks, who just turned 2. And that is our team. So first up, I'm going to hand it over to Alyssa Morrow, who's going to go over housing and meal plans and a few of the high points associated with that. Alyssa, take it over.
Hey, everybody. A lot of students, as they imagine living on campus, have questions about the housing options that are available to each student, as well as costs associated with the different choices. So I'll give you a brief overview. There's a lot of information on our website. So if you want to go to ccu.edu, you can type in housing and meal plans, and one of the first links that comes up lists out all the different meal plans options and the costs associated. Students who are in their first year at CCU have to choose an A meal plan, which means that you can select between 18 meals a week and 15 meals a week. And each of those meal plans also has dining dollars where students can spend money at some of the various food service locations around campus, whether that's a convenience store like in Yetter or Rockmont, or a coffee shop in Anschutz. Students who are in their second year can select from option B meal plans, which is 12 meals a week or 190 for the full semester, if you'd like to spread it out a little bit more throughout each week. And students who are upperclassmen, so in your 3rd or 4th year of college, can select from C, D meal plans, or can even opt to not have a meal plan at that point. The details of those plans are listed out on the site, so I'd recommend that you check that out. Again, that's ccu.edu, and then just type in housing and meal plan, and you'll see the costs and meal plans students can select from. Regarding our housing, there's really a lot of choice. Choice is our first priority as we think through how students are able to select housing throughout campus. As you have perhaps toured campus, maybe you've seen the Row or heard of Freshman Row or Harwood and Waite, all the same place, but upperclassmen and first-year students can select from any of those stairwells now. The other area you may have heard of or seen online as you look through our website pages is the Peak. So that also includes 2 buildings of first-year students and 2 buildings of upperclassmen. And then students can also select from Yetter or Rockmont halls, which are perhaps more traditional residence hall build in the apartment style, but certainly far from what you would expect to see on a college campus as you look through pictures online at least, or maybe reflect on a past tour. But in any of those areas, there's different groups of students who can live together, groups of 2, 4, 6, there's singles to select from, so a lot of different options. I think the biggest picture items to know as you think through housing and meal plans is that pictures and floor maps are available online, and students can really select housing, first year, upperclassmen, male, female, from any of those buildings around campus. As you look through, you see a lot of different options and groups you can live together.
Great. Next up, we have Callie, Tarina, and Alex going over leadership opportunities.
Hi, I'm Alex, as Neal shared earlier. Just to share just a quick list, there's so many ways to be involved in our campus life here is CCU, and not all of them are housed specifically in residence life, but it's all kind of part of our community that comes together. So just a few that some of these might feel like you're maybe like, I'm not sure what that is. Don't worry, like you'll get the hang of it soon when you come on campus. But just a few positions that are more formal positions would be discipleship group leader. You'll have you call them D group leaders. Campus activities is a department on campus that has so many different ways that you can get involved, whether that be leading a club that you can propose or an existing club. There's student government. You can lead a mission trip. You can apply to do that. You could be part of the chapel team that leads praise and worship songs. There's also prayer team that helps with chapel and other events like that. There's different roles that you can serve in athletics, even if you're not an athlete specifically yourself. There's men's and women's ministry opportunities on campus. And then kind of more under our scope of what we're involved with, there's the RA, which all of you will have an RA, and you'll learn pretty quickly what they're like, so you can be able to apply for that. But there's also lots of informal leaderships, like being a good friend, or being involved in your local church, or some of these things that they aren't specifically on campus, but it's a great way to be involved while you're a student here at CCU.
Yeah, similar to what Alex was saying, as a freshman, you might not be able to jump directly into a lot of these leadership opportunities. You'll learn as you spend your time here that B group leaders are typically upperclassmen, RAs are upperclassmen. So we just want to encourage you to be working on your own leadership development. And we always encourage you to just be a contributing member of your own community here at CCU. We want to encourage you to be contributors, not just consumers of your community here, because community really is what you make of it. So as you spend time here, you'll be able to learn more and more about those leadership opportunities that will be presented to you as you progress here at CCU, but want to encourage you from day one to be a contributing member of your community.
That's great. Thanks, Callie and Alex. Jake, community life. Tell us about it.
Great, thanks, Neal. So my name's Jake. I'm the RD in Red Cloud, Snowmass, and over duplexes. I'm just going to take a few minutes to kind of paint a picture for you of what community life looks like on campus here. You'll hear the word community thrown around a lot. Just to share with you our mission statement here at CCU starting out, CCU cultivates knowledge and love of God in a Christ-centered community of learners with an enduring commitment to the integration of exemplary academics, spiritual formation, and engagement with the world. And so we're one piece of many pieces pursuing to fulfill that mission. Something that is foundational to our community life and residence life program here at CCU is we want to provide both support and accountability for you as students on campus. And one of the most practical ways we do that is with policies and expectations. And again, thinking back to that Christ-centered community that we're striving for, all of our policies and expectations are there with the intention of being God-honoring and stem from a biblical foundation in hopes to create this Christ-centered community and encourage you along your faith journey. In terms of the RAs and our Res Life department as a resource, again, we're here to help facilitate that Christ-centered community. We're also available for emergency responses, whether medical or mental health related and other situations. We're also available to assist as you're starting to work through what it's like to live in community and share an apartment with 5 or 6 other students. As conflict comes up. So we help facilitate that process by having you guys work on developing roommate contracts together, assisting with conflict mediations if necessary. And so there's a lot of ways we can support you in to help that process go well. Programs and events, maybe what we're most well known for among the student body around campus. Your RAs will plan regular floor programs and more informal events on a weekly or biweekly basis. We also do at least once a semester an area-wide program and a couple big campus-wide programs as well through our department. So those are things to be excited about and look forward to. A lot of RAs will host family dinners every week. They're available to connect with you for one-on-ones or Bible studies, things like that. So those are all great ways, great things to get plugged into and be a part of as a member of our community. I do want to say with coronavirus coming into this fall, things will look different than they typically have in years past. So we're doing our best to be creative and figure out ways that we can still have all these really valuable pieces so that you're not missing out. But it will definitely require a lot of creativity, and we'll work together to figure out how we can make that happen well for everyone this year. Lastly, I want to talk about story time and life groups as part of our programming in residence life. As a freshman, you're going to have a chance to meet with D groups and do story times as well with your RA every week. It's a chance for Bible study, spiritual formation, fellowship as a community, really getting to know those students that you live with collectively in your area. A chance to share your story or your testimony as you feel comfortable and pray and worship together. And then that is story time for incoming freshmen. And then as you move on to become an upperclassman on campus, that story time transitions into life groups, which is essentially that same opportunity for fellowship and worship and study together, just with some slight variations for upperclassmen. That's all I have for community life.
Great. Thanks, Jake. I'm going to wrap up here with learning and growing. And what I'd love for you to know about residence life at CCU is that we don't just exist as a great place for you to live, although it's a great place to live. Our buildings are amazing. As you heard from who's talked already, that there's a real community here that people plug into, but that it's a place that you also find helps you in your growing and learning as a person, intellectually, that's emotionally, that's relationally, and we help provide the space for that. And so learning, if you come to college and you come to CCU and you think your learning is only going to happen inside the classroom, I would just challenge that may be a little too small of a vision for life on a college campus, particularly here at CCU. But that what we think is that when you come to CCU, there's going to be a whole lot of learning that happens outside the classroom, in the residence halls, with the community that you form here. In addition, the people that you're in community with are going to be a huge part of that learning. There's a study done not too many years ago about the number one thing that Christian students attributed to their spiritual growth. And it wasn't chapel. It wasn't their own even time in the Word. It was actually the community that they were embedded with was the number one thing that helped spur them on in their spiritual growth. And so here in residence life, we believe you're going to have an incredible opportunity. We want to make the space for that, to learn outside the classroom, develop as a whole person, and to grow alongside your friends and peers here at CCU. And we do that through all the ways you've already heard. We are all here, this staff that's all here. I'm going to put everyone back on the screen here. We're here because we love serving students. We are here for you. These are all full-time professional staff that live on campus. This is their heart and passion, is to serve students, to serve student leaders, and to help create the atmosphere that we believe in. It's a privilege to work with each of them. And we're so excited that you're considering CCU and hopefully coming in the fall. We'd love to get to know you and to serve you. We think residence life at CCU and life on campus is a really special part of the experience. So thanks for joining us. And there will be some Q&A after this video. Please feel free to ask any questions or to reach out anytime by emailing ccureslife@ccu.edu, and we'll get back to you. Take care and have a good rest of your night. See ya.
Myself? Okay.
Awesome. You guys ready for some questions?
You ready for some answers?
Hopefully, yeah. Okay, so we do have a few questions. Let's see. The first one is, will the gym be open? And if so, will there be any restrictions on that?
The fitness center?
Yeah, the fitness center.
You know?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it will probably depend on as like Jeffco and like the local kind of community health departments and stuff like that, as they kind of make some of those judgment calls. I don't know. I'm looking through the FAQ right now and some of the information. Because if you don't know, there is on CCU's website, ccu.edu/ccu-cares, or you can just go on CCU's main website and there's like a banner that's yellow. It says like fall updates. If a lot of questions are answered there. I'm not seeing it being addressed yet. I know we have like Jim and the VP and a bunch of other like senior level leaders are kind of navigating some of those things. I don't know if they've made a decision yet that we're fully aware of. If it will be open, I know there would likely be like mask requirement, some other precautions with social distancing and like cleanliness that would be implemented.
Yeah, I think it'd be a setup where there's like less people allowed in the fitness center at a time, maybe even like reserving a time ahead of time. But yeah, I don't think we've heard like exactly what that looks like yet.
And it also might depend, because the RMAC, the athletic conference we're a part of, just kind of what decisions they fall on for like CCU athletics, even in the local like college athletics in our area. I feel like we'll probably follow suit on some of those decisions as well as like workouts and what those spaces will be used for.
Yeah, and so a lot of the questions are with COVID, have to do with COVID. So just before we do move on to them, know that things change daily. So I think as with all of this, they're constantly changing, and I know the VPs and the president, they're always talking. So any information we give is
Subject to change.
what we know. So, and I think they want to be hesitant of saying any final things about the fall since it's still a long ways away, 3 weeks, but 4 weeks, but no, we're trying our best. So if we say we don't know, we're trying our best. The next question is, and this might, I don't know if maybe I could touch on this or you guys, is there any word on the WOW schedule yet, at least on what time you should arrive to campus?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know, so Residence Life isn't the primary ones that organize WOW. Our campus activities is another department on campus that they are kind of the ones like heading up what all of that's going to look like. What I've heard so far and the update I got, and again, like, yeah, things are pretty flexible, but what we heard today was you'll be receiving a specific time window because they're trying to reduce as much as they can, like extra like traffic and people like having to cross a lot of extra contact that's unnecessary. So they will be sending out specific time slots when you will be like, here's your time to show up for check-in, and then they'll give you more details. Like it'll be kind of like a drive-through type deal where you touch base with different departments. There will be like protocols in place, like for instance a temperature check, and just trying to make sure we're being as safe as we can with our students and preventing all the extra unnecessary contact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know if you're not on there's a parent Facebook page for class of 2024. I know Sharon Felker, she's posting on that. She posted a few days ago about they're going to be releasing time soon and they're working on posting the schedule on the WOW website. So
yeah, good question.
If freshman students decide to do online classes instead of in person for the fall semester due to COVID, do they lose their roommates?
Lose their roommates?
I think basically maybe it's saying can they still live on campus, or if they do online, choose to Zoom in.
I would say if you're choosing to live at home, we wouldn't like keep your bed or your room open or closed for you. If we needed that bed for another student, like it would have to be opened up to someone else. So as far as like if you wanted to live at home in the fall and then come in the spring semester, maybe if that's what they're asking, I don't think we would save that spot for someone. But
if you're choosing to live in the residence hall but just Zoom into classes, you would be able to do that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So yeah, if I don't know how much, if this has been covered in the previous things about like the high flex model and how like on the faculty side of things, they're working on what that looks like. So every class will be able to be zoomed in synchronous, like at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so if students want to do that where they zoom in from their apartment, or they could be, if they live pretty close by or something like that, they could be at home, that kind of thing. But that their spot would still be reserved if they still wanted to live on campus and just zoom into class.
Okay, cool. And with any of these, if you want more details, you can also always reach out to your enrollment counselor and we can connect you with other people too. So how will meals be handled this fall due to COVID?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're hoping that our dining hall can be operating like at full capacity, obviously with a lot of things put in place, wearing masks in the lines and having people spread out, having tables more spread out, maybe a limited number of people sitting together, those kind of things. But it's definitely going to be available to students in somewhat of a normal capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think I'll go for it.
I've heard it discussed about, because they've been looking through, because there's not just the main dining hall, there's also different food options throughout campus. Like in Leprino Hall, where a lot of classes are, there's it's called the Food for Thought. In Rockmont, there's Arturo's. In Yetter, we have a grab and go. There's also a grab and go in Rockmont. They're looking to preserve as much as they can, and potentially even creating different to-go options where it's just it's single line basically, and you would just swipe in and you grab more to-go stuff, so again reduces that contact. So I know they've talked through some different things. I'm not sure exactly where they'll land. Again, those I think final decisions will be made as we get a little closer, but there is
I think this is a huge benefit of having the apartment style living, is being able to cook for yourself, being able to that's a huge benefit of our residence halls.
Oh yeah.
So true. Yeah, you're set up really well for that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to combine a couple questions here that are similar. So are we allowed to go to other dorms, visit other dorms, or regulating visitation? That was a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And how will that affect community?
Yeah, that's a
Summarize.
great question. And yeah, we're coming up with kind of creative solutions to that too. The rule right now that CCU has put in place is that you need to stay within your own residence hall. So you can go in the apartments of anyone on your floor or the other floors of the building you're living in. But we don't really want people going from one residence hall to another residence hall, just to limit contact and the potential of spreading the virus if that happens on campus. So it is really in the hopes that we can be here on campus and we can be living here together and establishing community actually. That's why those rules are put in place right now. And again, those are rules that are, they don't have to be the rule forever, but that's where we're starting because it feels like that's the best setup. As far as community goes, yeah, that might feel limiting, but you're still definitely going to have a community of the people that you're living with and even on the other floors of your building. So there's some intentionality required, I think, to know the people around you and to maybe go to other floors in your building and meet new people. But there's still definitely plenty of people to be spending time with. Not to mention, you're allowed to spend time with people from other buildings in other places. So you're not only allowed to hang out with the people and only allowed to know the people that live in your building. We're just asking that students do that in other, outside and just in other buildings or off campus, whatever that looks like. So we have tons of great outdoor space on campus for these first few months that are beautiful weather here in Colorado. There's plenty of room for spending time together.
And to ease any potential concerns, we don't have a Res Life drone that just floats around and just
they scan.
Yeah. And there won't we're not gonna be having staff just follow you around, or your RAs constantly where are you? You need to check in at certain it's not gonna look like this kind of sort of policing kind of system. We're definitely these are the standards in place, and we have them in place, just echoing what Callie said, so we can have students on campus and to help contain the risk and the virus and all that kind of stuff. So just to ease that, I think it's not, it might sound, because of the policy, it might sound super duper intense, but we are always looking for ways to be creative and connect with each other. And your Res Life staff, we aren't just going to be hidden somewhere behind a door and you get in trouble and you hear from us or something. Like you'll still see us around campus taking precautions. You'll still see your RA, and you'll still see people from other areas, whether that be class and all those kinds of things. This is just kind of what we have in place to best help.
Mm-hmm. I think like for I've talked to a few students, like believing the best in leadership that is making these decisions. Like these aren't easy decisions for everyone to be making, and ultimately we want the health of our students and to be able to thrive long term. So even though they're hard and like we're all sad about these things, like giving the benefit of the doubt to those who are deciding these things. So a couple questions about visits. Are younger siblings able to visit students on campus? And then also a question came in about will prospective students be able to visit dorm rooms on their tour?
You maybe would know about that more than we would about the tours, I would imagine.
Yeah, so as far as tours this fall, unfortunately, we will not be showing the residence halls, and that's for, again, the safety of our students. And we did film like a really awesome tour video. It's posted on our CCU YouTube page of a full tour. And also they're working on a more detailed one of, I think they're hoping to do one of the residence hall specifically. So yeah, if you come on a tour this fall, you won't be able to see the room. As far as siblings, I wasn't sure on that one, but.
Our guest policy as it stands is no outside guests coming to campus. And that's, again, that's like a major thing to just prevent any kind of risk of the virus. So yeah, it's definitely a bummer for people, but that's just one of the guidelines that they've put in place. Also, I would say for people that want to see what the rooms look like, I think for sure on the Residence Life Instagram and maybe on
I think just the Residence Life one has it, yeah.
We had RAs do welcome to my crib, like tours of their apartments. So you can actually see like really in depth what those apartments look like in each building on campus, toured by students who like were actually living there. So
maybe sometimes a little too in depth.
Yeah, definitely too many details, but they're entertaining.
If you're living in a suite, can you live in a room by yourself, or are you required to have a roommate?
I'm not sure that we've made any exceptions due to COVID. The policy typically is because we have studios available in Rockmont, where if it's really important to you to have your own room, that's an option. We typically don't have people have their own room in an apartment.
Yeah, a lot of it can depend on availability too. So that actually, potentially you could shoot an email to housing, just Res Life, CCU Res Life at ccu.edu, and they can get back to you with more specifics on that kind of information. Because I know we've had in the past at different times based on availability, we've had the ability to do singles inside of an apartment. But like Callie was saying, that it's just not always the case. And we do have studio options if you're looking more to have your own space.
What happens if our roommates don't all agree with one another's social distancing? And maybe that's a good opportunity to talk about if just roommates don't agree in general.
Yeah. One of the great growing opportunities that comes to you in college is living with new people, living with people that are not your family members that you've been living with your whole entire life up to this point. So there will surely be conflict, and and maybe this year even more so. My hope is that this whole situation promotes a lot more open communication within roommates, that from the get-go, you have to be really honest with each other, and you have to be really open about preferences and maybe even pet peeves. And so my hope is that will help roommate communication. We are not under the impression that like conflict won't happen. We see it every year. And so there's definitely a lot of resources available if that becomes something that's like someone needs to step into. We train our RAs on stepping into those conversations. We can help with those conversations as your RDs. Our counseling center does roommate mediation. So there's plenty of ways for that to be resolved. We do really want to empower our students of like, you're capable of having hard conversations, And we know that sometimes that's really new for people. You've never had to maybe have a roommate conflict with your parent before or whatever, but we want to encourage our students to like learn that skill and be able to talk through those things. There's going to be sort of hopefully some things that help students at the beginning of the semester to kind of lay out the expectations of roommates. We always have students do a roommate contract together, kind of talking through preferences about having people over or quiet hours or sharing dishes, whatever. And that will be even more so this year, talking about even more of like what people are comfortable with or what they're not. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to navigate, but there's plenty of people who can help you navigate those conversations. And it's a great growing experience. Do you have more thoughts on that?
I thought that was really good.
Thank you.
I feel inspired right now.
How do we find out who our RA will be in our dorm?
Oh, well, they hopefully have sent you some sort of contacted you in some way before this point, but maybe for upperclassmen especially, maybe haven't heard from people since everyone left in March. But you could definitely contact our office, email that email address that Alex mentioned, CCU reslife@ccu.edu, and we could definitely get that information to you. I'm trying to think if it would be listed anywhere else that they would see it, but probably
I don't think it's
ask your roommates. Like, hopefully you've heard or someone has heard from them in some capacity, but we can definitely get that information to students and get you in touch because they want to know you.
Yeah.
Make sure to be, just as an overall thing, make sure students, if you're coming this fall, you're checking your student email. Admissions is pretty much the only department that communicates with your personal email. So if you're not checking your student email, you're probably missing stuff from residence life, your teachers soon, things like that. So check there.
And sometimes I think we get a lot of parent phone numbers listed for the student too. So I know sometimes RAs like contact the phone number we have for a student, but it's actually a parent number. So make sure that you get your personal information into our systems so we can get you.
This question, we may have to direct you to someone else, but there's a couple of questions about will tuition change or room and board change with like less options for food, not able, like a different community is not going to be the same, and refund for housing if we close down again, anything like that.
Well, this past spring when we had to send students home in March, I can say what CCU did do was they refund the housing meal plan like for that semester. Didn't for tuition because classes were still on, but did for the room and board costs. I mean that's definitely like Jim McCormick is the VP of student life, and he would be more the person that could give more in-depth explanation of what they're gonna decide and stuff like that. I think
I wouldn't say to have any expectation of some sort of like tuition decrease or housing decrease just because it's going to look different. I think we all are going to like be really creative and make the most of the situation, and so we're hoping that everyone who chooses to be here chooses to engage at the highest level. So I wouldn't expect any kind of decrease due to the situation. But yeah, like Alex was saying, I think if it came to extreme circumstances, CCU would work with students for sure.
Just for some clarity on the no guest policy, is it just no guests in the residence halls? Can parents visit in like outside spaces? Or parent, like basically we have a few that are like, I can't visit my student, I can't bring them things.
Yeah,
that's a great question.
It is a great clarifying question.
Yeah,
it's interesting because the question on there is, will I be able to have guests to my apartment?
Obviously, something we're not doing on campus is that I know of, is we're not like standing at the entrance of campus and saying you can't come in. So like if you're
Yeah.
bringing your student things and dropping them off and like want to hang out with them, obviously you can take them to dinner. You can, like, we do not want to restrict you families being together. It's more of just like reducing the number of people that are in the living communities, just like you would in your home. Like my husband and I, we're not letting like tons of people in our home right now or anyone. So similar to that.
And similar probably in, for sure, like in the cafeteria and in the academic buildings, like you just shouldn't have family coming like to eat with you, or I don't know why you'd bring someone to class with you, but maybe. So yeah, I think like we're not gonna shoo you away if you come to like drop something off for your student. And maybe we can get more clarification on that. But for sure, like within buildings and just like a longer term, like hanging out, someone coming like to spend the day on campus, like I just don't think that's what we're wanting for this semester.
But Belmar is right down the road. And we just want to be able to keep campus open. So it's awesome. If I'm a commuter, how can I stay connected and feel like I'm part of the CCU community?
It's a really good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky because it's limited in location. But I think, like you just said, Belmar exists. It's our like shopping center, literally within walking distance of campus, that has all sorts of fun places to be. We have several like local parks, and there's a lot of places where you could meet up with people. Certainly in the student center or in Leprino, where you'll be in classes and all of that, you'll be able to hang out with your fellow students and spend time with them. It's really just like coming into the residence halls that would be the biggest restriction for commuters. So yeah, I think it all requires just a lot of creativity from all of us as far as what our relationships and our communities are going to look like this year. And we obviously, our intention is not to like limit community in any way. Unfortunately, what this circumstance requires of us often is some sort of like separation from people, which is really hard.
And I believe, isn't there, this might be from student activities, but there is a student who oversees like commuter student like activities and stuff. So you can reach out to your enrollment counselor. I don't have their contact, and we can get you the contact for that person so you can start communicating with them and things like that. So, and just so everyone knows, we have about 15 minutes. I only have there's 2 questions left. So if you have any last minute questions, now is the time to send them in. How can we find out who is living in our hall with us?
The best way is probably to get connected to your RA. Most RAs are creating like group me's that you're a part of. So if you don't have the app, you might want to get it, because we use that a lot. So that way you can get connected to, that should be like a group of the contact information for everyone that will live in your pod or your floor stairwell. So that's probably the best way, is through your RA to start connecting with those people. I know some RAs have done like some Zoom meetings with their floors, and since scholarship recognition like was online, that kind of jump started some communication within the floors. So I think that's the best place to start.
Definitely. Is there a plan for if a roommate gets COVID-19 or that, just to summarize?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are actually just talking over sort of like some of it will still shift around, but we were talking over the protocol of what that would look like if your roommate or you were contracted COVID-19. A couple things to know is we're hoping that to get the student that's infected somewhere safe, whether that be if they're able to go home, like that would be our preference, because it's just going to be where you feel safest and everything like that. We do have, if it really can't happen, we have some spaces on campus that are reserved, so someone can quarantine there, so they can kind of be safe and they can recover. They can still Zoom into class if they're able. We'll be working with honestly, like across campus. HR is going to be working with us. The LDC, which does a lot of like academic advocacy. Yeah, the CAF to get your meals. We're going to be working with RAs and some different like staff to figure that out. So we'll have meals delivered to the person who's quarantined. And that's for the person that's actually in quarantine. For the roommates, our basic protocol right now, and some of this again is subject to change depending on how what's given recommendations from our like local health organizations, and is basically students have the option, like we encourage you to get tested. So if you can show us a negative test, basically, then you're like fine to go about go about as normal. If you choose not to get tested, we're going to ask you to isolate for whatever the recommended amount of time is, so that will like be your choice as a roommate. And if we have it prepared for situations like if the roommates needed to like quarantine while they figured that out, like we trying to figure out like space on campus. Really the RDs, which were 2 of them, there's a couple other ones, are going to be kind of the main communicators in navigating that with you and your roommates to make sure you have good communication, what's expected of you. We're working with health services, we're working with HR, we're working with Sodexo to just make sure you're taken care of and kind of what's expected of you.
We had a really quick question about free testing sites near CCU. The biggest one I know in the Denver area is the Pepsi Center, which is, if you're not from Colorado, it's like where concerts, basketball, sports happen. It's really easy. I actually had some friends go. It took they registered before, it took 10 minutes. So that's the Pepsi Center again. You can test there. Let's see. If do you know anything about freshman weekend at Frontier Ranch in September, if it's still happening?
I don't think they made a decision yet.
I think it depends on, I think they're working with Frontier. Last I heard, it totally depended on what Frontier Ranch, the location, and their policies were. So I think they're trying to figure out WOW first, and then we'll move on to that. But as of now, I think so.
I think the hope is that would happen at some point. So even if it can't happen in September, that maybe it happens in January, or I think that's an opportunity and an experience we want to be able to offer students. So I think the hope would be that it will happen at some point.
Just to touch on the WOW schedule quick, there's a couple of questions. So WOW is not canceled, just how it'll look a little different. Typically there's different times you can move in based on the residence hall. This year, they're all going to be moving in simultaneously, except for there'll be really specific times per person. It'll be broken down more, so you should get that in the coming weeks. And then opposed to having things happening all weekend, so parents will be able to help students move in, correct? Two parents?
Yeah.
Is that correct? And then the day after move-in, so that'd be the 20th, it's a Thursday, parents and families can kind of do their goodbye breakfast, go get final things, and that's kind of goodbye day, and then it's kind of release. Students have stuff that weekend after that. So kind of those first 2 days include parents.
Yeah, and then there's tons of stuff I think scheduled on that Thursday for the students. So they'd be in a bunch of different informational kind of things.
And that's typical for WOW, where it's first couple days with parents and then students start connecting. So I know the schedule should be posted soon. So where did it go? My box went away. Can you switch if there is roommate conflict that can't be amended? Is there the option to switch rooms?
Yes. Our policy is that you don't switch rooms for the first 2 weeks of the semester. So we're not doing any room switches for those first 2 weeks that you're here. Hopefully in the first 2 weeks, it doesn't get to the point where it's that bad. But we know that there have been students who just shouldn't be living together. And so we work with students all the time to maybe find a spot that's better for them. So Yeah.
And kind of echoing back to the video, Neal was talking about how we hope, in addition to your experience at CCU being just so fun and so cool, that it's outside of the classroom, there's also learning that happens. So we have like process in place of sort of every situation is different, and that's kind of where we come into it. Is we're always looking to treat every situation as it's different, but we have a general process of making sure, teaching you those skills Callie was talking about earlier, of like navigating conflict and issues, and are people communicating with each other? Are we facilitating a space where people can share openly about where they're at? Because so often people will be like, I need a new room immediately, and they've never even talked to the person, or they've never communicated that. And so we want to encourage you to take that ownership while also supporting you in that process. But it's not as simple as just like, put me in a new room, send, boom, you're in a new room. It's not that simple. And that's not to frustrate you. That's more just to encourage you to take ownership of your education and your life as you figure out how do you have tough conversations if they're tough, and how do you grow through them. So we have resources like your RA is there to help you if you've had that conversation isn't working, to help come alongside you. Your RD is there. Callie mentioned the counseling services actually helps us facilitate conversations with students if it gets really difficult, we can't figure that out. And then, at the end of the route, we've tried a lot of things and it's just not working. Like Callie said, we're not trying to just put you in a situation that is unhealthy. We're not trying to make you feel stuck. We just want to make sure, you're really putting the effort in and that people are really giving it a chance. But we believe it's a facet of Christ-centered community. And at the end of the day, if we can't, like Callie said, we're going to find a different arrangement and figure out what that looks like.
Yeah. Last question, are there any tips for packing for campus and getting things here?
I would say communicating with your roommates so that you don't end up with like 5 brooms, 5, I don't even know, blenders, whatever. Just talking to each other about I'm bringing this and I'm willing to share that with everyone. Making that really clear so that you, just don't end up with a ton of extra stuff. There's a Target and a Walmart really close to campus. So if there's stuff that you realize you need when you get here, there's plenty of places to find the things you need. I was trying to think of specific things to bring. I mean, toilet paper.
I would say too, a good tip is check the student handbook. You can find that on the website. Just make sure you're not bringing something that when you get here you have to take it back home.
Yeah. Toaster ovens, couches. If you live in Yetter or Rockmont, don't bring furniture.
No, you can bring a small chair, but it can't be big. Stuff like that. And honestly, if you have questions about that, I would say talk to your RA about that, because they'll know a little bit of the ins and outs. And if they're unsure about something, they'll consult us and we'll make sure. So, because I think that's actually what's most disheartening is if you get so jazzed about something, and then one of us RDs is just like, I'm really sorry, you gotta take that back.
And I think Bed Bath & Beyond does something where especially if you're an out-of-state student, I think you can go pick things out and then have it ordered to be picked up at a location near your school. So that's something to look into, but yeah. Can you bring a couch to the Peaks? Yes. Yep. Yeah, just Yetter and Rockmont, you can't.
There are couches in all the apartments, so you don't have to, but if someone has one, and that's a really great thing to communicate with your roommates about, because sometimes people end up with so many couches and it's just, there's not that much room. So
yeah.
An extra maybe unnecessary pro tip for furnitures, couches and stuff like that, is think of the end game too. Think of how you're going to get that back home or where you're going to store it, and don't bank on storing it on campus. Okay? Just want to let everyone know that ahead of time. You don't have I know you're thinking of all the scenarios what about this? No, not that. So just know okay, well, we know we're going to take it when we're done with it, and don't try to hide it in a dumpster. It's just not going to work out.
No. Really quick, where can you find the list of what to bring? It's in the student handbook, and also, which you will receive when you come to campus too, I believe. And then there's also a list to bring on the weekend of welcome page that says there's a full breakdown, so you can do it there. What's y'all's Instagram the Res Life Instagram to find the videos tours?
Great question.
I think it's Res RES Life at CCU.
It's
I'll check.
CCU Res Life, RESLIFE.
CCU Res Life. And then what? Nice.
You can't see mine.
What furniture is included with the apartment? That'll be our last one for real. Sorry.
Yeah. So 2 beds in the bedrooms, and then out in the living room, there's in the peaks at least, there's a couch and 2 chairs, like love seat or not love seats. I don't know, chairs.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
And then a kitchen table and
desk and chair.
4 chairs and then a desk. Yep. Yeah. Wow. So much furniture. A desk and chair for every person in the apartment, and drawers for every person in the apartment.
Yeah, Yetter has same things. You have a desk, bed is all in the bedrooms. In the common shared living space, there's a couch there, and then there's 2 other chairs that are facing it.
And a coffee table.
Yes, just a little guy. It's just a little coffee table. Not literally this small, but it's a little guy.
Pretty small.
And then Harwood and Way, they also have a couch and I think 2 chairs and desk and chair. So I think it's all pretty consistent. They all look a little different in the different areas.
But you don't need to bring a desk or drawers, or a kitchen table. You have all those things provided.
And you're welcome. You can bunk the beds. We have pins for that. So if you wanted to bunk the beds, you go to the front desk at either Yetter or Rockmont. They'll give you bed pins. But you don't, like, loft kits aren't allowed. So just right now know that. You can't just like put it on 2 planks and stuff like that, or cinder blocks or anything like that. We don't allow those.
We know that so many dads are really creative and try to build things, but just don't do it.
Yeah. Not yeah.
It'll turn out like, what's the movie Step Brothers, where they jump on the top bed and it just falls through.
For your own safety.
For your own safety.
I know a lot of people on Yetter and Rockmont will have like they'll communicate with their roommates and they'll buy kind of like a shelving unit for extra pantry space. I don't think they do that as much in the peaks. I feel like there's enough space there in the kitchen for who's sharing it. So, and again, these are really excellent questions, not just for us, but also for your RA, because they kind of like learn the, like, you know, the tips of the trade kind of thing. So if you have more questions or more specific ones, I would get in contact with your RA and ask them.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. I'm going to pray us out. And then if anyone has any additional questions, again, reach out and we can get you contacted with people, with them, with other people on campus with your questions. But yeah, I'll pray us out.
Cool.
Lord, thank you for a beautiful Colorado day, hopefully beautiful everywhere else too. We're so excited to have students on campus, and thank you just for everyone who has made it possible, who's been thinking through the hard questions and the decisions. And I ask that you're just with them as we continue to make decisions moving forward. And I pray for all the students coming this fall, and I ask for their health and safety moving forward through this semester. And I also just pray for any nerves. I think coming to college is a huge nerve-wracking step. And so I pray for students as they prepare to leave their families and make new friendships and relationships and classes. And may just be a really awesome time for you to work in their lives. And we're thankful for you. In Jesus' name, amen. Cool. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Alex and Callie.
Excited to see you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.